And we are live. I hope we have someone out there who can post a comment so we know that everything is a-okay. So I have my chats at the bottom of my screen. So I hope if somebody comments, we can actually see it and maybe answer questions as we go. But before we get into this live stream, let me introduce myself. I am Florence Renee, VP of Publicity and Sponsorship for the PMI Central Illinois chapter. This live stream event is part of our social TV program where we get on different live streams, different social media platforms, and we talk about project management, product management related content, discussions. It's a very informal thing that we're doing. We are not professionals, so give us some grace. But we will try to have the conversation in such a way that you can actually walk away with something from the conversation. And we also don't just stick to project management conversations. We also talk about our guests' background, their career path, who they are, that sort of thing, because we think the people behind what we do is probably more interesting most of the time. So with that out of the way, I am here tonight with Andrea Pratt-Smith, and we're going to talk about her project management journey, her background, what she's doing in the Bahamas, which is where she's at right now, while I'm here stuck in the Midwest. So I am looking forward to this next, 45 minutes, maybe an hour conversation, who knows? But I'm really looking forward to having this conversation with you because I love to see people doing new things, innovating, and all that good stuff. Before we go into the meat of the interview, I just want to read a quick disclaimer, as usual, which is basically that the views expressed on this live stream don't represent the PMI Central Illinois chapter, my current or previous employers. They also don't represent ProCanban.org, which is the organization that Andrea is affiliated with. So this conversation is really from our personal views, our experience, what we think, and that's pretty much it. So let's just dive into the conversation, Andrea. So I kind of gave a quick introduction as far as, your location and all. But Andrea, who are you? What brought you here, to this point? You can kind of tell us anything that you don't mind sharing as far as your background and how you got to be in this space, in this project management community.
Thanks, Florence, for having me on, first of all. Well, my journey with project management, I would say, started about 2 decades ago. And really before I got any of my credentials, I've always been someone who has been organized, punctual, and budget conscious. So I was like, project management was a natural transition for me as a career choice because I always embodied the skill sets of a project manager and I implemented them in my personal life. So I'm just enjoying having to use those same skills in my career. So it's like I'm in my field that I'm passionate about. I'm a project management consultant. I am the owner of my own company, Creative Minds Project Development and Consultation, where I offer agile project management and Scrum mastering services to both local and international clients. And I am the founder of the first community of practice for agilists and project managers in the Bahamas, which is the Bahamas Agile Project Management Community.
Okay, that is a wonderful background. You are a boss lady, as they say. So you work for yourself, basically. You set your own schedule, you get your own clients and all that good stuff. But where did you start out from? Like, did you work before in the field? Give us a highlight of your professional background.
Well, the highlight for me came from working in ministry, actually. I've been a ministry leader and worker for 20 years as a commander with the Royal Rangers Boys Club at my local church. And in that capacity, I've served as basically their project manager, organizing fundraisers, organizing camp events, different trainings for our leaders and ministry workers. And like I said, it was something that came natural to me. So serving in ministry and getting that experience, I did not even know that I was fulfilling the role of a project manager. I just thought I was working in ministry until I started to study what project management actually was. And then I said, okay, this is something that I'm naturally good at. So I started to pursue my certifications and really get that in depth training and knowledge of how to execute better as a project manager.
Did you meet someone along the way that kind of sparked the idea to you? Like, how did you kind of fall into that path, though? Like, did you meet somebody and they were quote unquote project managers, and that's how you knew that's what you've been doing the whole time?
No, I didn't meet anyone. What I did is I started researching different project management certifications. And I started with the Certified Associate and Project Manager. And I waited a few years before I got my PMP. And then I pursued the PMI-ACP. And then I fell into the threshold of the agile world. And it was just growing since then. And so I started to really pursue agile certifications. I became an advanced scrum master. I've worked on teams developing apps. And I'm currently working with a client developing a Web3 platform. I'm just enjoying learning more about project management and the different frameworks and methodologies that go with project management. And I think people in the Bahamas, we're stuck on this whole stereotype that there's no such thing as female project managers, and that the project managers that do exist here are those who are on the construction sites wearing the hard hats and the illuminated vests, and that's what project managers are. But we have a long way to go in educating our people to let them know that there's different fields that project managers work in, and it's not just construction, because you have persons working as project managers in banking, in insurance, in web development. You have them in pharmaceuticals. You have them in research. They're everywhere. They're in the airline industries. So we just have to, I'm trying to do my part to bring awareness of what that field consists of and how vast it is, and how important it is to have the knowledge of a project manager in every capacity. Even teaching. Teachers need to have project management skills.
Right. And in a way, they are just naturally project managers, teachers. So when you were starting out, knowing the stereotypes that you were around or you had to face, were you the only one? Like, did you end up finding other women like you and you kind of like tag team together? Or has this been a long solo journey? How's this experience?
Well, right now, I'm really doing more outreach to find female project managers in the Bahamas. I'm being more social about interacting with them locally. They do exist, but they exist in organizations where they don't have the title of project manager. Some are called data analysts, business analysts, researchers, or, they don't have the title, but they do the work of a project manager. And so that's what I'm finding as I go out and I seek my peers.
So you're socializing. So how's the PM community in the Bahamas? Is it fairly small, or is it fairly dispersed? Like, how is that? How is this process of trying to find our people and bring them together?
Yeah, well, when you talk about the Bahamas, you're talking about a country that has about 23 populated islands out of 700 islands and keys. And our population hasn't even reached 500,000 people. So any community is going to be a small community just based off our numbers. And I'm living on the island of New Providence, where, our island is only 23 miles long. So, it's a very small nation. But I am doing my part to go there and find who are the project managers and who have project management certifications. Because actually, before I started the Bahamas Agile and Project Management community, I took nearly a year to do field research, just to develop a database of who is out there, who has the certifications, or and then I expanded it to who's looking to be certified. Because then who had certifications was less than 100, but who's looking to be certified was really who I wanted to target and have a part of the community, because that's the type of persons we wanted to empower by showing them that this community is here to bring you the knowledge and the skill sets of this trade.
Now, did you have to do a lot of arm twisting when you targeted those people? You identified them. You introduced yourself. How was that interaction like? Were they like, "Oh my gosh, thank you," or how was that? Or were they skeptical?
Well, to be brutally honest, which I always try to be, the Bahamian population has not embraced the Bahamas Agile and project management community the way I thought they would have. When we have our virtual meetups monthly, our attendees are 80% foreign nationals and not Bahamians. And I'm trying to do my part by being more active locally, by having more in-person events versus virtual events. But two, I'm a little hesitant about it because the support isn't there. The support isn't there as yet. And I think it's because I need to do more from building awareness angle versus trying to just fill a room. Like, I want people to know that the community is free. There's no charge to be a part of our community. Even though we're not sponsored or affiliated with PMI, I do have the support of PMI, and that we're here to show them the benefits of being affiliated with the community of practice, because I've gained tremendously from networking and being part of a different international organizations. And I've experienced exponential growth in a short period of time just from my connections and making those relationships happen. And I'm trying to let Bahamians know that, we have something here that is valuable, but they have to know that it is valuable and how it can benefit them for them to want to take part in it. So I'm trying my best to get that buy-in.
Is the youth on your radar, as far as maybe not so much the youth, but the students? Are you doing networking with that segment?
Well, actually, yes, I am. I just became an advisory board member with FemSTEM Bahamas. And I work with them very closely in trying to develop their program and to show the young ladies who's involved in the STEM program the benefits of project management, even as a career choice. If they're not looking at it, they still would need the skill sets. So I'm an advisory board member with FemSTEM Bahamas. I'm also a certified youth leader and a member of the Bahamas National Society of Youth Practitioners. So my whole background is working with youths.
That makes sense. It does make sense, because you do have a big challenge. And I would say that's pretty much my story too. I didn't know that I was getting into project management until I think I ran across somebody, and that's when I made the connection. Sometimes it's just a matter of finding that moment, and then boom, and then you blossom and you run with it, right? You go and get certified. And I know when I was looking at your pedigree, I was very impressed. And from what I understand, you're certified in pretty much all of the main designations and all that. Can you tell us maybe your favorite one, like one or two that you really like, you're the most proud of? Or
Well, I don't really have a favorite when it comes to my credentials. A few months ago, I decided to take those letters from behind my name on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn has a 50-character limit, and I exceeded those 50 characters.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, if I can't have them all, I won't have any.
Yeah.
I don't think that I have a favorite, because I'm a continuous learner, and the letters won't stop, the learning won't stop. And I just think that there's always something new to learn. You can't just learn something or become certified in something, and then because you have those credentials, you drop it and say, "Oh, I'm certified." Because technology changes, the world changes, and what you have learned even a year ago may not be relevant today. So you have to be a continuous learner, and that's what I pride myself in being. And I don't just go after certifications because I'm trying to get letters. I go after the certifications because I'm trying to gain more knowledge.
And that's the right mindset. Definitely the better mindset out of all the things that we could have. Now, I have to call it out. You fooled me because I really thought you were part of the PMI community until you kind of clarified for me that you're not. There's no chapter, obviously, in the Bahamas, but I do see you in various chapter events, PMI chapter events across social media. So, why is that? What do you find beneficial or joyful about being involved in the PMI community?
Well, I am a part of PMI, being a member of the PMI Baton Rouge chapter, and I'm also a member of the PMI Chicagoland chapter. And I was a PMI South Florida chapter member just until January. So my benefit from being a part of those different chapters is I get to network with my peers. I get to attend their meetups, and I get to find speakers to attend my meetups. So when I attend those meetups, I'm able to listen to speakers, and then I'm able to reach out to them and say, okay, I have this community of practice in the Bahamas. We're looking for speakers. We don't have any funding to pay you, but can you come and speak for us? And it's been working. And that's how I really sourced a lot of our international speakers, just from hearing them speak. And then two, I've been benefiting from the fact that I was able to join study groups with PMI chapters. And I was in the PMI Chicagoland study group chapter when I was studying to do my PMI-ACP. And it's very beneficial because it only cost me $15 to be a part of a study group. And also with PMI Baton Rouge, Tanya and I, we work closely together, and she's helping me to try bring awareness to my community. Actually, on Monday, she's doing a live certification workshop for us, where she's coming to talk to our community about the PMI certifications, the CAPM and the PMP particularly. And I just reached out to her and I said, I need to find a way to raise funds for my community because we have a lot of administrative tasks, and our team members are very small and we're all working full time. And she offered herself willingly, free of charge, and she said, just put a small fee on it. Let's see what happens. So we have a live certification workshop that all proceeds are going to be donated to the Bahamas Agile and Project Management community, and that's happening on Monday, thanks to our partnership with Tanya Boyd, the PMI Baton Rouge President Chapter.
Yeah. I love Tanya. She's such a sweet, warm lady. I missed my chance to meet her in person at Global in Vegas last December. We just kept missing each other, and I'm so bummed. But yeah, I know exactly. And I'm not surprised that she volunteered herself, her time, to actually help you with your initiative. One thing I kind of want...
Florence, before you ask the next question, let me just add too. I don't want to leave him out. Lee Lambert has been very supportive to everything that I've been doing in the Bahamas. He actually just left here in March, and we had an in-person event at the University of the Bahamas, and he stays in very close contact with me, and he encourages me, and he serves as my mentor. And I'm trying to keep me encouraged and going, because this work seems easy, but it's very hard and it's very taxing. And people don't realize that when you're trying to fulfill a mission, and even though you may sometimes feel as though it's solo, you have so many persons in the background who are just cheering you on. Yeah. And at times when I feel like, this burden is too much to carry, he is one of the persons who I call on, and he always gives me that extra support that I need to just keep going.
He's another amazing PMI leader too. So I'm not surprised by any of this, to be honest with you. And I think I watched part of the recording of that event, and I was surprised that he was physically there in the Bahamas.
Yes.
So yeah. So one thing you touched on something about the taxing, the labor that goes into this. So you have a family, correct?
Yes, I do.
So how do you juggle that with this? Because to me, what you're doing, you have a business. You also have the nonprofit side of it, the COP.
Yes.
You have family, then you have yourself, and how do you balance all of that?
Well, I find that I balance it very well because of my training as a project manager.
Mm.
And honestly, time management is a huge part of what one of the skill set that we learn. We learn how to manage our time. And time is so valuable to me, and every moment of my day is allocated for something, even rest. So, it's like I just look at my calendar and I said, you know what? This is what I can accomplish. And after I've executed my task, I just say, okay, now it's time to rest. And also, my training as a Kanban trainer, it helps me to be more conscious of my work in progress and limiting my work in progress and focusing more on outcomes than outputs, and seeing where I can do a lot and have a big picture goal, but I can break those down into small, manageable increments that aren't so taxing on my day and so taxing on my body or even my mind, because mental fatigue as a knowledge worker
Yes.
happens quicker than physical fatigue. And so I'm conscious of all of these different things, and I implement all of my training, all of my knowledge into making it seem like I have a global empire behind me. Like I have a staff of 50 persons. So persons will come up to me and they say, well, Andrea, you everywhere. You're everywhere. How do you do it? And they feel as though I have some huge staff, but it's just implementing the skills and training that I've learned and to make sure that I have a healthy balance in my life. And it has to do with time management, prioritization, and being able to lower my whip and focus on outcomes.
So, on the theme of family, right?
Mm-hmm.
I told you I'm Haitian, so I know the Caribbean culture and
Yep.
everything. Did you have to convince your family that this endeavor is worthwhile? Did they understand it right away? I guess that's what I'm trying to find out.
Well, when this whole concept about starting the Bahamas Agile and Project Management Community came to me, I wasn't even at home. I wasn't on the island. I was in Atlanta, Georgia. And apparently, what had happened was I got stuck there during the pandemic when the country closed down and I couldn't come back home. Delta canceled my flight. So I was stuck in Georgia for 6 months. And during the end, when coming to the end of my time there, I was being very active in the South Florida Agile Association community, and I was gaining so much value from them, learning how to build apps and be a part of a Scrum team. And I was doing all of this volunteer work because I needed to occupy my time since I wasn't at home. And it just hit me, and I felt like, I'm a person of faith, so I felt like God was telling me that I needed to start this community of practice. And I mentioned it to a friend of mine, and I said, I really feel like this is what God wants me to do. And she said, if you feel as though God wants you to do it, then do it. So I came home in January of 2020. I don't even know when that was. 2021, I think it was. I was able to come back home, and I just hit the ground, started to do my research. And I told my husband, I said, this isn't something that I came up with, because I would never think of funding a community of practice without any sponsorship. And I was paying for it on my own before Scrum Alliance picked us up and we became a part of their Network Pro user group. So I was funding the community 100%, and plus doing all of the work 100%. And I was like, this have to be a mission, this and a vision. I couldn't do this on my own. And I was like, okay, I'm going to submit to this. I'm going to see it through. And ever since then, the opportunities and the doors have just been opening. The growth has been tremendous. Our community is thriving. We have over 700 followers, and we just celebrated our second year in June. June 1st was our second year that the community has been founded. And the opportunities have just been endless. Even, you contacting me and different speaking events and all these different things. I don't go out and seek these things. It's just as an open door, and I just embrace it as it is.
Wonderful. It's sometimes when it's meant to be, it's just meant to be. It will flow,
Yep.
right? So obviously COVID impacted you. Um, do you think, as far as like the growth of the COP, do you think that kind of like held you back? I would imagine that it really, really, I mean, forget the size of the Bahamas, first of
Hmm.
all, but then you add COVID and everything else. Do you find that that's been a challenge, or that was a challenge for you?
No, it wasn't at all in
Is
any
it
way.
because you do most of your stuff virtually? Is that okay?
Yes, because we were formed during the pandemic, so we started virtually, and we're
Okay.
now trying to come out of so much virtual events. But then
Okay.
the huge part of our following is virtual.
Okay.
So I'm just doing a bunch of micro projects to build awareness locally, but still maintaining our virtual element because that's where the majority of our followers are virtual.
Are you engaged with the Chamber of Commerce around your way or on your island? Are you making inroads with the business leader, the business people, community there?
Well, I'm just starting to reach out to those organizations, the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce, and then we have something called the Access Accelerators, small business development opportunities like that, like those. But I think, for me, my focus is more on trying to do speaking engagements at different clubs like Rotary, Toastmasters, different organizations like that. What have opportunities to be a speaker
Hmm.
versus trying to reach out and say, well, our business needs support, because our business doesn't need support because we're a nonprofit and we're a free entity. So it's more of an awareness building than
Hmm.
trying to gain funding,
Hmm.
even though we need funding to build awareness, like they go hand in hand.
Yeah, the catch 22. So, as far as your students, because I know you do classes and
Mhm.
everything, so are your students mostly overseas? It sounds like they are, but
Yes.
are they of Bahamian heritage? Is that the connection? Is that the draw to you?
Well, no, no, they're not. And as a professional Kanban trainer, my market is not in the Bahamas. We're able to market our classes globally to anyone because we do online training.
Okay.
So the few classes that I have taught already, I had one Bahamian student so far, and the rest have been either from the UK or I had someone from Singapore. So it's all over the place. It's not
That's
really,
interesting.
yeah, it's not based. My market isn't in the Bahamas because, like I said, the awareness of agility isn't here as yet, and so trying to sell a applying professional Kanban class when persons really don't even know about Scrum. I'll say start from Scrum and then go into Kanban.
Yeah.
But it comes from first having the awareness of agile and agility and how project management has transitioned from waterfall into an adaptive life cycle, and we aren't there as yet.
Wow. Now, I know you said you are a woman of faith and everything, and you are passionate, but I can imagine there are times where you're like, I don't know, maybe you might want to throw in the towel, or as far as the COP part of it, like, can you confirm that you've had those thoughts?
Yes, and I will be honest again, and just say I had that thought today. I told someone I feel like running away sometimes, honestly, because I feel like the work of it all gets so overwhelming that I just want to run away. But, I know too that God doesn't put more on you than you can bear. And this isn't my vision, this is his vision. I'm just executing his will. And he always reminds me that I just need to take it one day at a time. I don't have to try to boil the ocean. Like everything that I saw in his vision for this community and for my life, it's going to happen. But it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take work. And he never said it's going to be easy. But he also said that he will send the people who are supposed to help me. So as the doors open, so does the persons who come to help me with my execution of this vision, because it is tiring, it is challenging, it is stressful, it is frustrating at times when you know that you're giving of yourself freely and persons are not embracing it and they don't see the opportunities that you're trying to provide to them.
Mhm.
It's discouraging. But I know too that for every 10 persons who I reach, there's always going to be that one person who's going to turn around and say thank you, and they're going to see the value in what I'm trying to do, and they're going to benefit from it. And my whole mission in everything that I do is as I climb, I want to reach my hand back and extend it to someone else. Because if I can't empower somebody, why am I here?
It's funny you ended on that because lifting as we climb is one of my favorite motto. Like even sometimes when I make social media posts, I always most usually I'll put something like that. I think it's such a I don't know, it's not easy, trying to turn back around and try to like pull people along the way, and sometimes they don't want to come up, they don't want to be lifted.
But see, I find encouragement in the small wins, because I have a young man who I mentor. He's from Africa, and he's going to school in the UK right now. And I talk to him and I encourage him on a regular basis. And he is a source of support for me as I am for him. And he's not a Bahamian, he's an African.
Yeah.
And he reached out to me and he said, I want you to be my mentor because I see the work that you're trying to do in your country. And even though I'm not a Bahamian, I think that you can help me. And that brought me a sense of inspiration, because if I can help someone in Nigeria or in Africa somewhere to realize their dreams, and they're looking at me as a role model, then that means I'm still doing something right.
Right. Wow. So you have a global reach, and honestly, I'm not surprised from following you around social media and watching the things that you do, the events that you do. Because I went to your last event, the March with Flow.
Mm-hmm.
It had a very marching forward with Flow.
Yeah.
I was on there, and I was surprised at the diversity of the attendees, and so I noticed you have other people do these events with you. So how big is your team, and where are they? Obviously, I think they're overseas from what I've gathered. So how big is your team, and how do you put together these events and all that good stuff, if you don't mind?
No, no, I'll freely share. Well, the Marching Forward with Flow is just a LinkedIn audio event, an experiment that I said I'm going to run and try up until I run my applying professional Kanban classes in July. And I said, okay, what would be a good way to market these classes, and also to pay homage to the fact that the Bahamas is celebrating its 50th year of independence in July. So, I'm a very proud Bahamian. I don't know if you could tell by my
Yes.
thing, but I'm a very proud Bahamian, and I try to tie everything back to this country. And so the LinkedIn audio events, I co-host with my team member, Omar Gonzalez, and he's from Puerto Rico. And he actually serves as host for our BAPMC meetups, just to give me a break from the front of the screen. And I do most of the background work for our community. So he and I were a part of the South Florida Agile Association. And I just told him, I said, Omar, I'm starting a community of practice in the Bahamas. Would you like to assist? And he came on board, and he's been on board with me for the past 2 years. I've never met him in person.
Wow.
I've never met him in person, but he's been a true source of inspiration for me, and he keeps me going, and he helps me with some of the work items. And then we also have another Bahamian, Sophia Walker. She helps with anything that we need in person and also with our meetups. So we're a team of 3. So
Wow.
people think we're a team of 10 or more, but we're just a team of 3.
And then on top of the COP, you have your own business. I'm sure you're doing business development, trying to get clients and everything else. So do you have a team for your business, or you're solopreneur? Like, how's that set up?
Well, I work with a few virtual assistants who are located outside of the country, but I do about 80% of the work myself. I just get up at 4 a.m.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I like I said, it's all about time
So
management.
how long are your days then? How long would you say on a regular day for you? What's
A
that?
regular work day for me is probably 12 to 14 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, but when I go into hibernation, I go into hibernation. So don't worry, I do get my rest, and I
Yeah.
totally come offline, come off screen, just go and hibernate for a few weeks or even a month. So it's worth it. I really put in the effort because I'm an overachiever, and everything I do with excellence.
Yeah.
And I just give my all, and anyone who knows me know that if I commit to something, I'm all in, I'm committed. So
I picked up on that. I really did. And I think that's one of the reasons that when I proposed this to you and you're like, I'm sure you were, because we're talking about something completely different, right?
Yes,
And then I was like, I just love your essence. And I picked up on it. So I'm one of those, like, I have the regular day job, but I also, as you know, volunteer as a chapter leader for Central Illinois. And my days are also long, so I can understand. In my case, it's not so much trying to like tell people what project management is. It's trying to get them to come out because they're already doing it. They know they're doing it, but trying to build the community, build the chapter, because with COVID, we suffered from that. So we're trying to like come back. So I totally get the overachiever, the long hours. I get that. Totally get that. So let's pivot a little bit.
Okay.
I know you said you didn't really meet somebody who kind of told you that you were doing project management, and that you have people like Tanya and Lee, I guess a phone call away, right?
Yes.
So did you intentionally go out and seek out these people like mentors? Do you have like sponsors? Do you have what's the other one? Advisors? Because I have learned recently that it takes a village. It's not just a mentor. A mentor is completely different from a sponsor. A sponsor is completely different from an advisor and advocate. So do you have all three sections filled up, and who are you? Who's on your team basically?
Well, I don't have official tags for anybody, so I don't have an official mentor, advisor, sponsor. I don't have those labels on them. I just have persons who are in the profession that I am in who I can call on if I need advice.
Gotcha.
So I call them my friends. I call them my advisors. At times they're mentors. Sometimes if I need financial support, they're sponsors. So they could take on those different roles at different times. And I think too, with me, persons are willing to help because they know that I'm an authentic, an honest person. And if I call on somebody and I say, well, I need a few $100s to pay a bill for the community or whatever, and if they have it, they'll send it and they'll say, well, okay, Andrea, no problem. And I may say, well, do you need me to send you the receipt when I pay the bill? No, that's not necessary. And from day one, I've always operated on a system of integrity. No one ever questioned whether if I said I need something for something that the funds were going to that purpose. If I can take my own resources to build a community that I'm offering to the Bahamian people for free, then persons don't hesitate when the call is made to help because I'm taking my own. I'm investing in my own from my own resources. So that's really what I work upon, the honor system. And persons are willingly making themselves available to help other people who they feel is trying to accomplish something. And I always tell the younger persons who I mentor, if people know that you're trying to accomplish something, they will help you because you're trying to accomplish something. But nobody is going to help you if you're just complaining about what you can't accomplish. You have to put action to words and do something and not just expect people to help you because, you need help. It doesn't work like that. We have to pay it forward. And once somebody helps us, then we help somebody else.
Exactly. Now, let me kind of go back just a little bit. You know how you said like sharing your ideas and talking, putting it out in the universe, and people knowing who you are, they know your integrity, what you're about, they gravitate. Have you always been that way where you kind of put it out there if you have a goal, you go ahead and put it out there and see what happens, or are you or were you at one point more close to the vest, not let people know what you're working on until it's done? You know what I'm trying to say? Like,
No, no, I don't try to think that I have trade secrets and I must keep keep
okay,
what I'm working on and in disclosure or secret. I found that with myself, I work on passion projects. Like I'm a strong believer in volunteerism and philanthropy. So I find that I gravitate, not necessarily that I seek out these opportunities, but I've just kind of fall into these roles where it's either some nonprofit or some youth empowerment kind of thing or something to do with helping young children. And like I said, I never knew that I was a project manager. But many years ago, I knew a lady who passed away from cancer. She and her husband passed away from cancer, and they left behind 5 minor children. And my daughter was an infant then. I was on maternity leave, and I just felt the Lord told me, you need to do something to help these children. And so I organized a food and clothing drive with my church. And the media found out about the drive that I was doing. They came and they interviewed me, and I had like cases and cases of food and abundance of clothing for these children that could have lasted them for 2 years. And persons came and they brought me monies, they brought me checks, and nobody asked if I had an organization. They just saw that I made this appeal to help these children, and they freely gave. And for 2 years or more, I supported those children just off my integrity, not because I had a foundation, not because it was affiliated with the church, but because they could have seen that it was authentic. It was something that I was passionate about, and it really hurt me to know that these children lost both of their parents, and they 5 of them were under the age of 12, and I just had to do something.
right, right. That's very inspiring, giving back, not just professionally, but to your neighbor. Those things, like, they build character. And I don't know. I'm like a big fan of yours. I don't think in case you don't know, but I am a huge fan. So, going back to how you said you have your work-life balance in check. Um,
My husband would not agree with that. He would like
I was
he would roll
wondering
over,
about that as you
roll over and feel for me at 4 a.m. He's like, she's gone again. It's like, stay in the bed. Why don't you stay in this bed?
so how does that work then? Let's go there. How does that work?
It works well because my husband, from I've known him, he's always been an entrepreneur. So
Okay.
he knows what the life of an entrepreneur is, and he encourages me 110%. And he's seeing that, the effort that I'm putting in, I'm getting a return. So it would have been a difference if I was putting in 12 hours every day for a work day and not seeing results. But he can see the results. And so it's like, keep going, keep going, keep going.
Yeah, and you probably have found your rhythm with the work-life balance because of something you said that I thought was very interesting on that call,
Mm-hmm.
where you talked about how you use what you're doing on your daughter.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you made it like a family thing, and
Yes.
can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, I think I every conversation I have, I end up talking about my daughter, but I homeschooled her for 2 years during the pandemic. So I'm not a teacher by profession. I don't have the patience to be a teacher. So my one student really stressed my nerves, but I was able to really appreciate teachers. And I was using the ABACUP curriculum with her. So we had our lessons plans already in a schedule, so 170 days of schooling. But, being the overachiever that I am, I added extra stuff to her curriculum. So I was teaching her entrepreneurship, and I also taught her Scrum. And she was actually invited to be a presenter at the Access Agile Festival. And she was their youngest presenter at 10 years old.
Wow.
And she presented on how I taught her Agile in the classroom and how she was using the Scrum framework in her lessons. And she spoke about her entrepreneurship and how she started her business. And she showed the Trello board, and she showed them how every day she had a schedule with her lessons. and also how she was able to manage her clients and her budgeting and her savings. So they were really impressed by that, and I talk about her all the time about how I was able to teach her Scrum. And actually tonight, she was asking me if I could have put her on the work in progress game that I use in my Kanban training, because she loves to see how she can use the twig game. We call it the twig game, and move the work items across the board. And she understands the concept of work item aging. So she would look at the ages of the work items, and if the aging is too high or it's not within the service, okay, I'm getting away from myself now. If it's not within the service level expectation, then she knows that she has to move those cards through the workflow. And she loves it. I mean, I practice on her all the time. So whenever I have to teach a class, I teach it to my 10-year-old.
Yeah.
She's 11 years old now.
Yeah.
But I said to myself, if I can teach Kanban and Scrum to 11-year-old and she can understand it and then reteach it to somebody else, then I'm a really good instructor.
That's amazing. You know, when you said that, I was like, man, Florence, you are slacking. You are slacking. That's just that's so novel to like start her this young.
Yeah.
And that it's from what you shared, it sounds like she's really into it. And really into it. So I'm sure she's probably sharing a little bit of what she's learned from you with her little friends.
Yes.
And then next thing you know, this will be the next generation of PMs in the Bahamas, right?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. I think so. And when she went back to school, because I put her back in school for the school term, her teachers came to me and asked me what was I doing at home with her, because she was way beyond the other children in her class. And I told them, I said, I was teaching her Scrum. And I said, we had a Trello board and I showed her how to use Scrum. And there's like, what is Scrum? So you have to come and do a workshop for us and show us what you did, because she's exceptional. And she just graduated from school from 6th grade as the top overall student in her class. And her teacher was like, I've never seen a child like her. She's exceptional. And as they was like, tell me what you did. Tell me your secrets. And I'm like, I just showed her what I do on a daily basis and I made it fun.
Awesome. That's such a wonderful story. When you said that, I was like, wow, I need to do better, because I have a 6-year-old daughter. She's like my mini me. She loves to kind of like come along to work stuff that I do. She's always trying. She's not here now, but she's always trying to be part of my stuff, and I have to like shoo her away. So I need to really follow your lead there and kind of introduce her to some of these concepts, because they're life changing.
Yes, they
really.
are.
It will carry with her as she grows into adulthood.
Yeah, and it's practical and it's every day. You could see it, you know, if I could see it and she can see it being valuable to her as a child.
Yeah.
You know, like I say, everyone is a project manager. We just have to really develop our skill sets.
Yeah. Yep. Now, with that statement, I noticed you had an event. Everyone ... is an agile coach. I thought, what a provocative name. Yeah. So that's a big statement right there. So that's your philosophy that...
Well, no, that's not really something I coined. That's from Bob Galen.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's really well known in the Agile community, and he travels to different meetups presenting that presentation. And I think he's going to be presenting that at the Agile conference in Orlando next month.
Okay.
But that's he goes with that, and he has a book called something but badass coaching, something like that. But yeah, we invited him to be a speaker at our meetup, and that was his presentation.
Yeah, I was like, man, you know what? That's a very provocative title, statement to put out there. And yeah. So I noticed that when you have your events, you offer PDUs from PMI. I think the other one I saw was from Alliance.
Yes.
So how do you manage that relationship? And are you considering joining the PMI, I don't know, ATP family training, authorized training partner? if you don't mind sharing, what's your take on that? Is that maybe your next step?
Well, let me answer the first part of the question first. At our meetups, we're able to offer the Scrum education units, or what they call the SEUs, because we're a part of the Scrum Alliance Network Pro User Group. So what we do at the end of our meetups is we drop a link in the chat, and once persons have Scrum Alliance certifications and they click on that link, the SEU is automatically added to their profile on their dashboard.
Yeah.
As far as PDUs at our meetups, we let our attendees know that they have to self-report the PDUs because we don't have a claim code. But as you would know, once you attend a meetup or any learning session, you're qualified to record your PDUs. So that's how that works.
Okay.
As far as looking into becoming a auditor with PMI, I have already had those discussions with PMI. It's something that I'm looking into, but at the moment, that whole path is very costly. But I was advised that I can teach the CAPM certification class without being an authorized training partner. So I'm in the process of drafting my own curriculum that I'm looking to offer coming this year, September.
Interesting. That whole world is fascinating to me, like the training world. And so I just wanted to know how you were navigating that space. And I know one time you and I talked about whether, how there's no chapter for PMI. So I think at one point I was wondering if your next step would be creating that, initial chapter.
Yeah.
Do you mind if we talk about it publicly?
No, I don't mind at all.
Okay.
I've actually had conversations with the chief of staff of PMI, Lenka, and we've considered that option. She has put me in contact with a few other advisors at PMI, and we're still discussing whether I am going to be the one leading the charge to form a PMI Bahamas chapter. But since I am an entrepreneur, that is not something that I'm just jumping to do, because I need to know the full extent of what it entails, what type of support I would get from PMI, and what type of arrangement, or what the whole concept includes. I want to know everything about it before I commit to it.
Yeah.
And I told them that as it stands with the Bahamas Agile and Project Management community, since I'm the founder, I'm not governed by bylaws and copyright and affiliates and all this kind of different restrictions. I just operate on our own standards that we create, as far as when we want to have our meetups, who we want to have attend our meetups. If we don't want to have a meetup, it's like we only are obligated right now to Scrum Alliance, and their restrictions are very non-existent to a certain point. We're only mandated to have 8 meetups a year, and we exceed that threshold, and we're required to have at least 25 persons attend our meetups. So for a small growing community based in the Bahamas that has a small population, that's something we can manage. And then too, it's beneficial for us because our overhead isn't that much. We just have to cover our subscription costs, because we try to find speakers who we don't have to pay. Mm-hmm. So if we can keep sourcing great pro bono speakers, that minimizes our cost, and everyone who works with us works as a volunteer.
Do you typically target professional speakers, or could maybe somebody who's a seasoned professional, like a veteran in their field, could they come and do something with you? Like, do you have a wide net as far as who you bring to your events?
Yes, I do have a very wide net, because we created a speaker application form that we send out to persons who would contact us and say, we want to be a speaker at your community events. And we have different levels. We said, let us know, are you an advanced speaker, an intermediate, a beginner, someone who just has a new voice? Mm-hmm. Because we're not restrictive as who can speak to the community. My focus is that you're someone who's bringing value, first of all. Someone who, their topic can bring an audience or will be interesting to our attendees. And then the third thing is just networking. So we don't really limit it to say, well, you have to be this veteran speaker, because for me, it's discouraging as someone who's trying to be a speaker to say, I only want persons who've been speaking 5 years. I would never put that restriction on our community, because I don't want the one to put that restriction on me, because I haven't been speaking internationally that long. And I wouldn't consider myself some expert speaker. I'll just consider myself somebody who likes to talk sometimes and who knows a little bit about something. So the same way I would like an opportunity to be afforded to me, I extend that same opportunity back to the wider community.
I love that answer. I love that. And I hope anybody who's watching, because I do follow quite a few people who are well settled in their career, let's put it that way, and they have things to say, and maybe they can connect with you and support you and give back that way. Because I think what you're trying to do with the Bahamas is it's needed. In fact, I think it's needed all across the Caribbean.
Yes.
All across. I know there's a very strong PMI organization across Africa, but I'm not sure that it's really hitting all the people that it needs to hit. So what you're doing is something that it's more than a passion to me. I think it's needed.
Yes.
It's very much required. It's needed. So I know you have a very hot July, just like we at Central Illinois, we have a hot lineup for the summer. Do you mind telling us what events you have coming up, and maybe somebody will go and register and support you that way, and maybe link up with you and help you book your, I don't know, the rest of your year?
Yes. Well, the rest of our year is almost booked out with speakers, but we do have the form available for persons who are interested in joining our lineup for next year. So we like to prepare in advance.
Love it.
As far as what's in the pipeline, like I said before, we have our live certification workshop with Tanya Boyd that's coming up on Monday. We're asking a small investment of $49. All proceeds go to help the Bahamas Agile and project management community with our operational costs. It's not a free event. It's just an investment of $49 and an option to donate more if you want on our ticket tailor. Reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I could always send you that link, or you can even find it on LinkedIn because it's posted everywhere. And then I'm offering applying professional Kanban class in July 17, 18, and 19, and again on the 22nd and 29th, 2 separate classes. And because this year the Bahamas is celebrating our 50th year of independence, here's my pin, 50th year of independence, and I am the first Bahamian professional Kanban trainer, and actually the first professional Kanban trainer in the entire Caribbean. I am offering that training for a discounted independent special price of $997. And to promote that training, every Monday at 12:30 p.m., I do a LinkedIn audio live. It's called Marching Forward with Flow, where I bring on other professional Kanban trainers and ask them the most important question that Agilists in the Agilists all over the world like to ask. Why Kanban? Why should I use Kanban? And so if you ever wanted to know why you should use Kanban as a strategy to go with all the other frameworks, agile frameworks that you're using, then you could attend those audio events and join the conversation. And July 10th, our special guest will be the CEO of ProKanban.org, Colleen Johnson. So she's joining us on our July 10th episode, which is the Independence Day of the Bahamas is July 10th. So on that day, I will have an extra announcement about the Applying Professional Kanban training. So I encourage those of you who are interested and looking for a deal to come to that audio event, sign up for the training. If you want to register 3 or more persons from your organization, you can reach out to me and I'll offer you a special discount, probably a pay for 2, get 1 free kind of thing. I'm feeling very generous in July. So, just reach out to me, contact me, and let's see how we can continue learning.
Awesome. And you're such a marketer too. Like, it just oozes out of you. Like, I hope, the people who get to watch us tonight or maybe later on, they will reach out to you. Like I said, what you're doing is so, so, so important. So we are almost at an hour. So let me just ask you one last question. So that was basically your COP, your business. But what about you? What's next for you? Is there one more hot designation you're going to go for? Like, what about you? What's next for you? Your next big goal?
Well, my next big goal, I wouldn't call it a big goal because then everything would be a big goal, but my next certification would be something along the Kanban line because I'm continuing my training as a trainer so that I can offer more classes than just the applying professional Kanban. So they have a lot of different training that they're offering the trainers. And starting next week, I'll be starting a new class. So
Wow.
the trainer never stops learning. Let's put it like that. So I'm always trying to find ways to improve upon what I know. There's always something new to learn, and learning never stops. And once you have that mindset, it becomes like food to your soul. So I enjoy learning. I'm a self-proclaimed nerd, and that's just me. You'll always find me reading textbooks or reading some article, some white paper, or you know trying to read about how this AI is being used in project management, because everybody needs to know, there's this fear that AI is going to take your job.
Yeah.
No, it isn't taking jobs. It's just helping us to be more efficient at our jobs.
Yeah.
But if we don't learn about it and know how to use it, then you'll have a fear of it. So, lack of knowledge is a really serious thing. So knowledge is power. So I encourage you to always be continuous learners and to look into any offerings that I'm offering. I'm not the only trainer out there, but if you reach out to me and let me know what you're interested in, I probably know somebody within my network who's offering something and I could maybe get a discount.
Right. This is so wonderful. Again, I am glad that our paths crossed at the top of the year, I think, and that we finally got together to do something for my chapter, which is PMI Central Illinois. Now, as far as I think you have a lot going on, and I kind of alluded to that we also have a lot going on this summer.
Yeah.
Let me just wrap up with a little, I guess, spiel about what's coming up. So we have on the 29th a member orientation meeting from 12 p.m. to 12:30. It's with Pamela Clapp, the chapter president, where you can come in on Zoom and ask basically questions about membership, how to volunteer. If you are a member but you haven't been as active and you're looking to kind of get involved and maybe give back, do that lifting as we climb. Well, you can come into that. You can register for that member orientation meeting with Pamela Clapp and start that conversation. So after that, we have our July Lunch and Learn on July 11th from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Central Time. And it's going to be around risk management. The RAID log specifically, how to use that traditional risk management tool to do better at projects and make sure we're successful at that. And then we're going to have our first networking event since COVID lockdown. We're going to be at a baseball game on July 28th in Peoria. Please go ahead and register because we do have to kind of stop the registration so we know who's coming. There's going to be a buffet. It's going to be fun. And you'll get to have a couple hours of maybe kid-free time or whatever. Just come out and hang out as project management professionals, people who do change, who deliver change. We need to kind of get together and build our community here in Central Illinois, just like Andrea is trying to do in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
And then we have other live streams coming up. We have PDD coming up in September 14th and the 15th. Just go on our website, www.pmi-cic.org, to kind of see what we have lined up and register. Me beat over publicity. I have to say, please follow us on our social media platforms. We're pretty much everywhere. Please read your emails because all the things that I push out, as far as I'm concerned, they're good stuff. They're relevant things that can help you in your career and even personally. For example, this live stream that we're doing tonight, I hope you got a ton out of it. It was one of those things that I concocted while talking to Andrea about doing an actual chapter meeting, and this came about. So if you don't open your emails, you will miss out on things like this wonderful conversation that we've had for what, over an hour now, and we got to meet with somebody that most likely, if you're from Central Illinois, you probably wouldn't have crossed paths with Andrea, right? Well, she's here. So this is what community building looks like, and this is what why I am passionate about doing it here for Central Illinois, and why I support you, Andrea, and what you're doing in the Caribbean, which I love as well, because I'm still an island girl, even though I grew up here. It's been 30 plus years now. So with that being said, do you have any parting words? Should we stop here? And I know I'll be catching up with you to talk about maybe, the other stuff that we're cooking up. We're not ready
Yes.
to announce yet.
Okay.
Any parting words that you want to share?
Yes. I just like to encourage those of you who are watching live now, or those of you who are going to watch this recording later, that, sometimes you may feel overwhelmed. Like I sometimes feel overwhelmed, but just know that you don't have to do it all one time. Take it in small increments, plan out your work, look at your big goals, and then make an action plan on how you're going to accomplish that big goal. But just take it one day at a time. We're not made to boil the ocean. We're made to just do our part to make mankind better and to help our fellow man along the way. And I'm all about nation building. I'm a very proud Bahamian, and I'm all into supporting my own and making sure that awareness of agility and project management becomes on par with the rest of the world, and the Bahamas does not get left behind. So I'm doing my part, trying to bring a whole nation behind me. So if I can do it one day at a time, then whatever goal you're trying to achieve, I'm sure that you would be able to do it if you just look at it one day at a time.
Wonderful. And let me tell you, as a Haitian, what you just said is so inspiring, because I think that is also needed over there
Yeah.
greatly, right? So that's a separate conversation for a different day.
Yes.
So let's end our final Q2 live stream on this positive note. And I will be back soon with our next live stream event. Please follow me on social media, follow my chapter, follow Andrea, keep up with us, and support what we're doing. Let's build this community together. So, Andrea, you were wonderful. I can't think of anything to kind of like that I didn't ask. I'm so happy that you said yes to my idea, and that we got to talk.
Yeah.
And happy Independence or early Independence Day to you all, Bahamians, my fellow Caribbeans. And we can just stop the live here. And you all have a great evening. Have a great weekend. Be safe and healthy, everyone.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Andrea.
Right.
Looking forward to working with you.
Same here.
Bye-bye.
Bye.